Hello everyone! Today we're going to be reviewing the Ohuhu, I can never pronounce this, acrylic paint markers. So I have briefly touched on acrylic paint markers, but I haven't really used them a lot. The first thing I ever made with acrylic paint markers was this item. It's a luggage tag. It was from work. It was one of the activities I was running. This was like the first real taste I ever got to using paint markers. And before this, I was always very, very interested in using paint markers, but I just really never had the chance to until now. My wonderful friend bought me these and my Copic markers for my birthday, and I haven't yet been able to try them out, but I've been planning this piece so we can go ahead and try it out together. But before we go ahead and try it on the actual art piece, let's go ahead and take a look at the markers inside and open up this box. When opening this box, it comes with two different colored paper color swatch packs, which I really love. So the first one is just on plain white cardstock, and then the other one is on a black piece of paper. And then as well, it's a double stack, so these are in combination, all the colors in the set. The test drawing I'm going to be using these for is going to be for a Halloween art challenge that is similar to Inktober, but it's its own thing. It's called Drawtober. I'm going to be going ahead using these as a test drive there, and also my alcohol markers will be used for another prompt as well. Both these test drawings I'm going to be doing for this Halloween prompt, and this one specifically is Candlelit Messenger. I will show you a sketch in a minute. After, I'm gonna go ahead and speed up some things and test swatch all the markers on both pieces of paper. Let you guys show you the difference between maybe how it looks versus how it comes out. And then we can go ahead and work on the actual piece. Do not judge me by this sketch, guys. I'm really hoping I can color this one through because the sketch low-key sucks. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, let's start with some color swatching and go from there. Hello, it is now Future Beeps, and most of this will actually be Future Beeps. But some of this is filmed in person, which is why you will be getting a lot of and hms, because I don't know how to edit that out without making like the visual look weird because they were both synced at the same time. But right now I'm going to head and swatching all the colors on both sides. I think my initial thought process was to do like one half of it like the smaller tip and then the other half the like bigger tip, and then I kind of thought about that to myself and I'm like, that's kind of stupid. So I stopped doing that. As you can see on the swatches and kind of a pattern you're going to see is that, of course, due to the nature of the white, everything's going to look a lot more pigmented, and then the black is just going to look a lot more splotchy, just because white typically hides a lot less splotchy, and because a lot of these colors in this, if you will, are very bright, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. I love bright colors. If you take a look at my art, I'm a very bright color girly. I love doing the bright, overly obnoxious colors. So I think this acrylic paint marker pack really worked for me because of how bright everything is. But I do think if you are not so much of a bright girl, so you don't like making things bright red or yellow, pink or purple, yada yada yada, this probably won't be the set for you. I think partly why it is so bright is because most people, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the time acrylic paint markers are geared towards crafting. So like painting little pot sets, painting little things. So instead of but you have more precise control, but you still get the effect of the acrylic paint. And most of the time with those, you're looking for stark bright colors rather than more low-key colors, just because the average person needs the contrast with the bright colors to make something look good, which that's kind of a lie. I don't know, I'm talking out my butt here, but you get me. You can still you have to be a lot more knowledgeable on how to use desaturated colors to make them all look like different than if you use bright colors. Trust me, I also mean this as my like a thing to myself. I'm literally working on a art project that I did it for saturating colors, and the shading is just not it. And I think I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and redo literally all the shading on it, which I spent hours doing because I don't like it and I just haven't faced myself enough to do that yet. But overall, I do like the color scheme. I would say my one nitpick with it is the blues. A lot of the blues are very similar tone color. So if you put them on a grayscale, they all kind of look similar, especially if you see right now those like 4 blues I just did. They all look very similar, which is hard for which makes it hard when you're trying to shade the blue with a darker blue because it just comes off the same color. And the purple, which is, if I don't shade blue with blue, I typically shade it with a purple. Even the purple is the same tonal match as those blues, so it kind of is a little difficult to create depth to make it that stark contrast. And when I do the pigeon little guy, you will kind of be able to see that when I do that, because I have to add black and hair reveal. Oh my god, I'm a dirty blonde. Oh my god, guys, my secret identity is revealed. No, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I'm losing my mind. But yeah, but overall, I do really like the colors. I wish they made a little bit more variance in the colors, but I'm not mad about it, especially because it's only a 36 pack of markers. That is the one downside with both acrylic, any type of marker or pen really, is that I feel like with most paint or watercolor or maybe pastel, don't quote me on that though, the one medium I've never used is pastel, and you can even argue it for like colored pencils, is that you're able to layer colored pencils, paint, and watercolor, or mix them to a point where you can kind of create your own color. So maybe if you're not like thrilled with all the color choices you have, or you want a specific color, you can make that color. But at least for markers, you can't really do that. So it's a little bit tricky unless you're very knowledgeable on what colors complement each other to create that contrast and make that. So like when you're doing eyeshadow on your eyes, you have blue eyes, and you're going to put like more of an orange or a dark brown to make those eyes pop. Whereas if you want them to look more basic, you're just going to be putting like a neutral purple or even blue itself to make them appear more gray, because color theory, baby. Alright, so I finished the color swatch, and these are the kind of different. I did the black first, so I think it's partly why a lot of the colors kind of look a little splotchy. But because it is on black paper, I do expect to have to go over with them with a couple of coats. Same with this one. A couple of them do look splotchy, but I also think these are the first time I've been using them, so it still needs to get the ink all the way through. I will say, I don't know if I'm losing my mind or what I was doing wrong, but I think the colors were incorrect in the box, which should have been it's kind of my fault, because I should have, read and been like, oh, this color's this color's this, and like make sure I was lining up the colors to each one. But like we got to the second box and it kind of just went to crap. Also to note, a couple of colors did not receive one. I don't know if I double did one. I feel like the one green I did double do, but I feel like there was 2 I wasn't able to get to. So then I'm like, did I double do another one? But I don't think I did. So I'm a little confused there. But honestly, I think we're fine. I'm getting the gist of what the colors are. I got to use and test out almost all the markers, and that's just kind of what I'm happy about. I did think that was a little odd, but I think that was also my carelessness rather than, and because the two other boxes I had, it was pretty straightforward. Like the colors matched exactly how it was here. So I just automatically assumed they were all going to be like that, which I shouldn't assume just because things can get mixed up. Boxes can get a little shuffled. It's just how things work in production. So that was definitely my fault, but yeah, I did skip a couple colors. But I think I have a really good idea of the colors, so we can go ahead and start maybe attacking this sketch. So when you see the sketch, you can't laugh, okay? You can't laugh. What the fuck is that? I don't know, to be honest with you. I thought I was coloring this cute pigeon, and it turned into this. My friend, I showed her, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And she goes, is that a cat? He has 3 legs, and that's because I messed up the first one, and now I'm like, well, it's Halloween. Do I just keep the other leg? He's also supposed to be a candle. So I'm making a pigeon carrying a thing who is also a candle because the prompt is candlelit messenger. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be like a basic. That would be too boring. So I was like, okay, we're going to make a pigeon because pigeons carry mail. And that was the purpose. So we're going to make a pigeon, we're going to make a pigeon carrying a little note, who's also a candle because he's candle lit, and we're a little Halloweeny, and I wanted to make a pigeon candle. And I had these acrylic markers, and I really wanted to use this black paper, and it kind of looks like shit. I'm hoping that, okay, if like you've used like acrylic paint or anything like that, I'm hoping the fact that I can just kind of go over the lines like with a couple layers will make this good enough, and this can be my guide. I'm not sure if I'm keeping all 3 feet. I kind of think the idea would be a little cool. I also don't know how well the black will do covering this, like, because sometimes if you put black on black, here we can try it out right now. Like, I'm just gonna put it in the corner. Yeah, that's like way darker. Granted, it's not cooled down, dried down yet, so it might still have a couple of gloss, but I'll wait for that to dry down. But it's typically a lot darker. Excuse me, blind, stop being windy outside. I don't want to close that window, but I will. Thank you. But it typically doesn't dry down the same color, so I'm gonna wait to see how it dries, and maybe I'll cover it up. I will definitely start on like the feathering first on the body of the actual pigeon. I'll probably start with the eye too, and I kind of want to move the eye a little bit more forward. I don't know. We're just gonna pray, hope, and live, laugh, love, baby. Live, laugh, love. Alright, it's Future Phoebe again, and I believe she's gonna be here until the end of this video. So we're going to be doing kind of a mix of a review and a ramble as well, because I have a lot of audio and time to cover. I probably won't be talking the whole time, but knowing my butt, I'll probably be talking the whole time because I am a yapper. PhD in yapping, boys. So that's the idea for this. So let's do kind of the review portion of this. So I'm going in with the acrylic paint markers first, and I'm blocking out all the colors I want to use. So I pulled up a picture of a pigeon, and I was kind of just mimicking what it had on it, but obviously instead of doing the slight variations, because if you look up a photo of a pigeon, it has slight different color shifts wherever it goes. It's a little duochrome. It was what inspired the duochrome eyeshadows, don't you know? Obviously that is sarcasm if you didn't know, and it probably did. I don't know, honestly. Anyways, past the point. But using a picture of a pigeon I found on Google, I just was kind of just color blocking what colors were going where, and so I could kind of have a better idea of myself of how did I want to approach this and how did I want to go about this, because I wasn't sure how I wanted to shade up to this point anyways. And my biggest thing, anytime I'm testing something, I will typically go for a shell shade, just because I feel like that's like the hardest one to mess up. If you are gonna mess like any of the shading techniques up, shell shading, at least for me, is pretty easy to do. So I felt relatively confident in going about and doing that. And then, so we're just, again, doing the color blocking. And I don't really do anything too exciting until this point. I am trying to figure out how to color block the wings to make it still, like, I remember where I want to keep the feathers, but I wasn't sure. So I just kind of did the, like, raindrop tear movement to get that feeling, so I knew how to color block it later. So a little bit more ramble and we can touch back onto the topic at hand. How is everyone's days going? Mine's pretty good. I have split days off from my job this week, so I typically get Thursday, Friday is my typical days off from my job. But for this week, I have a conference to attend for it, the Thursday, Friday, so I wasn't able to get those days off. And my friend is possibly coming down for the weekend? Question mark, question mark, question mark. But she won't come down if there's no weather. But just in case she did come down, I ended up getting Monday and a Sunday off, which I never get off. So that's my current days off for that. And so I had Thursday, Friday off. I work 2 days and I get Monday off, and then I work until Sunday, which is 5 days in a row. So that's a little interesting. So this is kind of like a surprise day off, and I'm trying to kind of use it to like make sure I'm doing like the last final chores before my maybe friend comes down for the weekend, and also making sure I get to do the hobbies that I really love, such as recording this, obviously, and then I have been reading my comics because I'm a little comic goober, and I think I'm going to go ahead and get some drawing in. And I believe me and my boyfriend are going to be going rock climbing tonight. We went last night, and guys, I haven't been rock climbing in so long. It's so embarrassing. So, this also transitions, so I'm totally jumping around. So the reason why I've been gone, even though it looked like I was like, oh, look at her, look at Beeves, she's like actually posting, and she's like actually doing things and commenting and is involved on her art account, when she's been literally dead on her art account for like freaking 3 years. She's actually being an active part of the art society. And then she fell off the face of the earth. Lol. Well, I started getting really bad chronic migraines again. I've always had migraines since I've been very little. And I started getting migraines again, and they weren't anything like I've ever experienced with my old chronic migraines at all. My old chronic migraines kind of resemble just kind of a normal headache, except my brain would like just shut off, but like I wasn't nauseous. There wasn't any like direct pain. It was just like, oh, I can't see anything really, and my brain is shutting off. I'm going to go to bed for an hour, take some meds, and then I'll be fine. Is typically what would happen. Meds being like Tylenol or Advil. And even then, I didn't like taking them because I feel like they never really worked. Now my migraines are coming back clutch. They last for 4 days. I get an episode every day where I'm literally knocked out for the whole entire day. And then my throat hurts. Like the back of my neck makes my throat hurt, so it like hurts to swallow or anything. And then my brain just feels like I want to kill myself. I can't say that. I want to unalive, essentially. Which is also difficult when you have to work and be a functioning member of society. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. thank God my boss is so nice and is so understanding, so he makes it a lot easier to be having a migraine. So I am very thankful for that. So why I basically stopped doing it is because I was having migraines while I think I actually was drawing while was having one of my migraines. And I was keeping that momentum up, but it kept happening. The migraines did, and it wiped me out. Because here's the thing also too about the migraines. It's not like it just lasts for the 4 days, right? So like I have the big episodes for like the 4 days where I'm like, I can't literally function like a human being. I literally can't do anything other than sit down. Like I can't go on my phone. I can't watch TV. I can't read. I literally cannot do nothing but sit on my butt on the couch and stare at the wall going, ow, I'm in pain for 4 days straight, essentially. So that's really fun and exciting, and I get bored really fast, so you can just imagine how that worked out. But with that, after I have these 4-day migraines, my body just like shut down, right? My mind just like shut down, so my body is like trying to catch up, and so it's super fatigued, it's super tired, it doesn't want to do anything movement-wise. It doesn't want to do anything creative. My brain is tired. So it made doing art, both the physical aspect and the mental aspect, very difficult, because I just did not have the energy after I finished work and after I'm dealing with all these doctor's appointments to try and figure out what's wrong with me. I just did not have the mental energy to sit down and draw, which is very unfortunate, or finish recording. So I did post, I believe, 3 of the artworks I did for the Halloween competition. So this was prompt number 1. I also posted the astrologer toad guy I did, and then as well as one other thing that I forgot on the top of my head. I did actually most of the prompts, which is I think the saddest part about it. I think there was only like 2 prompts that like I didn't really get to, but even then I had like the sketch for. A lot of the artwork I like had done. I just could not put myself in a position, or almost finish. I just couldn't put myself in the position where I could like finish it, if that makes, like, just post it. Just, it took so much energy. Alright, so back to the drawing at hand. So I'm using what I thought was like a darker blue color to like do these highlights, because again, it's supposed to be like a candle pigeon. So I'm trying to make these drip ideas, and the dark blue wasn't as dark as I thought it would be, but I'm still kind of going with it because I'm like, well, I already committed, might as well just go with it, the whole thing. And you can still see like the slight variation. I think I was also thinking that the blue didn't look as contrast due to like it being on the black at first. So I'm going in and adding highlights, which really brought out that darker blue a lot more and made everything pop. And this is kind of the idea I go with the whole time, where I add this base color, I add an highlight color, and then I'll go ahead. I don't know if I do this for this part, but I also go ahead and add like an accent color. So I know for me, a pattern, I'm trying to like bridge the gap between all of the colors, right? So I use a lot of purple, I use a lot of green, and I use a lot of blue, and I try to make sure that's represented in all the shading areas so it looks more cohesive. Now, because the undercoat, the base coat was a little streaky, I'm going around the already shaded areas and adding that color back in to make it a little bit less streaky. And you can already see, you can see the dark blue a little better, but still, again, it's not as much contrast as I would have hoped for, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So I'm adding that in, and then I think I go in with the purple. I go also in with the yellow to do the highlights for the candle itself. And a lot of acrylic paint in general is a lot of layering, and so I already knew that going into the paint markers, so that was my biggest focus, on focusing on layering and everything like that. Because I didn't wait for the blue to dry down all the way, the orange tip did get a little muddy, which isn't the fault of the product at all. That's just what happens when you go a little too gung-ho and you use a lighter color on top of a darker color. The best way I've found to fix this is just to like keep using the orange or lighter marker until that color pigmentation is gone. So this is where we start to see me getting a little impatient. Sometimes when I'm mid drawing and I'm not completely sure on like what exactly I want to do, or if I'm not sure about how it's looking, I go in with my favorite friend, if a black liner, if not a white liner. So I went in with the black acrylic marker and I started outlining everything, because again, it wasn't giving the contrast I initially was looking for. I wasn't trying to outline everything in like the initial thought process and plan, but the colors just weren't as contrasting as I thought they'd be. So I had to go in with my handy dandy black acrylic marker. Also, I do want to note, this black acrylic marker was almost the same exact color as my black piece of paper, which was fantastic. So often when you have a black marker on a black piece of paper, if you put it on it, you can still see the two different shades of the black marker on the paper, and it often gives this like weird shine, especially Sharpie does. And hey, I'll be honest with you guys, I did use Sharpie for a very long time to outline all my stuff, because that stuff went over color pencil like no one's business, and nothing else did quite as nice as that did. I'm awfully familiar with how it looks. So it's still drying down now, but honestly, if you pick up the paper right now, unless you're examining it very closely, you can barely even tell that was like something that was happening. Comparatively to the price of other acrylic paint markers, Ohuhu is definitely one of the more affordable options. And as you can see here, it definitely works out really well. I'm having no issue using the paint at all, and I'm getting a really nice glide on it. So the pack I got specifically is a 36 pack, and currently on Michael's it's retailing for $23.32, which is honestly really good. The leading like acrylic paint marker brand, which is Posca, Posca, It is currently 16 acrylic paint markers for $55. So definitely a lot more affordable, and it was really nice to use. I will say, so after I filmed this, and like actually a little while ago, I know I was kind of saying like the blendability is like a slight issue I have, like you can't exactly blend. Apparently I just wasn't using my brain enough, because apparently if you use God and your finger, you can get the paint markers to blend out. So definitely when I use the paint markers again, I will be trying this and seeing if this is something that I'm able to do and how well it does. And then B, I also heard if you're not using them, the paint bits dry up and then you're not able to use them multiple times. So we'll figure that out the next time I use my acrylic paint markers and see if they're dried up and how well they can blend. But from what I've seen, they have been doing a pretty good job. And even if they do dry up, well, I'm not saying this one piece was worth the $20 that was spent on this. I'm also wouldn't be as upset if they dried up, whether as like the Posca ones dried up, because the cost was severely less. What books, comics, audiobooks, or fan fiction is everyone reading right now? I'm not like the biggest fan fiction reader myself, but I've been in my trenches. I've been more reading comics lately. Here, I'll tell you the one that I just read. It was really good. The one I just read recently is The Strongest Characters in the World Are Obsessed with Me. Yep, you know, it's a girl-faced isekai. I eat that stuff up. I eat it up. Nom, 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 nom. My favorite one, though, that I have ever read, I'm getting you the name. This is my favorite one of all time, but the name is so long. Death is the Only Ending for a Villainess. It's so good. It's one of my favorites. I'm actually going to reread it after I'm done with the one I'm currently reading, because yeah, I really need it right now. I haven't been really reading any books lately. I have such a big freaking TBR, though, a physical TBR nonetheless. Like, I can literally look at my shelf right now and just like rattle off so many books I have to read that I haven't. I just haven't been in like the reading mood lately, which is funny because I often am not in the reading mood, and then I like read a book and I eat that stuff up. I eat it right up. When I get like this, I typically go for like reading my old classics. But right now that doesn't really work because I reread all like the books that like I really love when I try to get back into reading, because I just love them so much. Even if I don't finish them, I read like the first 3 chapters and like I feel inspired to read. And those are typically Twilight and then another series called New Moon by Patricia Briggs. The series, well, the first book in the series is called New Moon. The series itself is the Mercedes Thompson series, I believe. Right? I believe that's the case. Um, but I'm currently rereading not New Moon. Jesus Christ, that's not her. Moon Called. If I said New Moon earlier, I said something starting with K and ending with myself. That would get me YouTube not liked. So here we are. Moon Called. Yeah, the Mercedes Thompson series by Patricia Brigg. Moon Called is one of my favorite books of all time, but me and my boyfriend are currently reading that together. So I've like kind of been reading it because we'll take turns reading it out loud every now and then. If we try, since we started dating, our goal is to get one book done a year together, and us reading it. So that's our current book, and it's currently November, and we're only like halfway. So we gonna pick up the pace on that, don't we? I've been reading Twilight, but I've been annotating it, but now it's getting to like my least favorite part of like the whole like book, where she like tells Charlie, spoiler I guess, like Charlie like, no, don't, I hate you and I hate this place, yada yada yada, and I just hate that part so much, and I hate just the immediate after of like the whole thing. Ugh. It just poor Charlie. But yeah, so I'm at that part and I'm just kind of gritting my teeth through it, and it doesn't help that like when I read, I have like a lot of momentum that keeps me going, and I kind of lost that momentum. That's the only issue about annotating, is I lose that momentum that typically keeps me going for finishing a book. And then there's also an audiobook I've been listening to. Me and my friends were doing a book club. Yeah, that didn't go well because only one of us finished the book. Not because it was bad, it's just we all got really busy. So the book Under the Whispering Door, I really need to finish it, but I was listening to the audiobook, which I can still do. I just need to like do it, you know? You know. So that's kind of what's hindering me right now. But I just need to sit down and start reading. I'm hoping like the colder weather just gets me like, oh, I'm loving this. So I just unsubscribed from email listing. Sorry, guys. Anyways, so I don't know which one I'll read next, and I want to do more like book readings for you guys, but also like I'm just not motivated at all to read. It doesn't help that I've just been so busy lately. I'm always busy, to be honest. See, it's like for me, like I can either read or I can either draw. Like it's never both. And right now I'm in like my drawing phase. Like I finally started working on one of the little fairy art I have. I can't work on any of my paintings, kind of as I mentioned earlier, because I have to wait for the paint to come in. Another question is drying period. So, at least on this paper, it did take a little bit for it to dry. As you can see on the screen, you can still visibly see like the wet marks of the marker, but it didn't take a very long time to dry. I always go on the side of caution, so I'm overtly cautious in terms of the drying time. So, I typically give it a lot more drying time than I probably needed before I go over anything, just because I don't like the tips to get ruined of the thing, and I also like taking breaks because I typically squirrel and just how it goes. But it honestly dried down fairly fast. Like, it didn't take too long to dry. Like, I wasn't like going back to it after I let it sit for a little bit and going, oh wow, it's still wet. I was able to go again with no issues. And then on top of that as well, as you can see, I'm not using, I believe like the paper is technically a mixed media black paper, but honestly it doesn't really feel like mixed media. It just feels like a normal, like kind of like construction paper, like nice art construction paper is the texture of it. So I wasn't actually sure how it would deal or fare with the acrylic paint marker, but it actually did a very nice job at holding it up. The acrylic paint wasn't too thick on it, so it didn't cause any like issues of it becoming like the wrinkly, which can often happen with like a lot of paper materials. Instead, it held up its own pretty well. So back to kind of the review, one thing I really do love about the acrylic paint markers is that how pigmented they are. So remember, this is black paper, and most of the time for like any colored pencils or most items like you're drawing on black paper, you do need a like white or a really light base before you can go ahead and just put the natural color on itself. And these ones, I could put it straight on the black paper and it was already pretty vibrant. They do need coats, but again, as I was kind of saying earlier, that's normal with acrylic paint. So the fact they were showing up, it was really nice. They're really easy to control, and they were nice to work with. The tips bend pretty well when you need them to. I would say my one complaint is that the small tip is still pretty small, not still pretty big, so it's harder to get those little fine details, which is fine, especially like, but it would be probably hard to get a pretty fine tip for acrylic paint pen, just because the matter of the paint clogging up and everything like that. But I will say I feel like the tip could have been a little smaller, but I'm still not mad at the quality of it at all. It does also take some time to kind of get it charged with the paint, and I did have to kind of take breaks with the pens where they kind of ran out of ink and they needed some more ink, so you have to go shake it or put it upside down so the ink kind of falls back to where the bottom is. But That's not a thing that happened with these markers. This has been any like overall thing with any marker I've ever used, whether it's a water base, alcohol, or acrylic base. So it's not like whoa, what a new thing. It's like, no, this is a common thing that happens, and that's going to happen because of physics and you're using a lot of product. Due to how many colors the pigeon had on the little guy, I had to make sure I incorporated almost like every color within the design, making sure there was blues in the green and the gray sections. And then for the feet, I made sure there was purple to match the purple section in the gray, the green, and the blue, just to make sure everything kind of looked cohesive and well put together. This kind of created a whole entire effect that made the bird look like a neonic pop art, which I was happy for. But again, it would be harder, at least for me personally, to make anything that wasn't more of like the pop art style. To be fair, that is kind of my go-to in general. So it wasn't like it's some like grand egregious thing for me to not think of it. This is just how my brain is wired. But I would see if for like anything else, it would be quite hard to kind of make that mental switch. And then, like, another sidebar, I've been baking a lot lately. So I've been making my work has like bananas, and often the bananas are pretty bad. Like they're about to go bad. And I had the amazing idea of why don't I just take them and make banana bread, because they're for the employees. So now I'm taking the bananas and making banana bread at home, and it's just been so good. And then I've been meaning to learn how to make brownies from scratch. I have like a favorite box mix of brownies that I adore. It is the best brownies ever. And I was taking a look at the ingredient list yesterday, and it's like just normal ingredients. There's no like processed stuff. Like it's cane sugar, cocoa powder, tapioca starch, rice flour, baking powder, salt, natural vanilla. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can use the similar ingredients and make my own brownies. The last time I made brownies, they were an absolute flop. So I'm hoping to make them good this time. And then I also have zucchini, and I want to make chocolate zucchini bread. But I've just been in the cooking spirit, and I'm not baking cookies, because typically when I'm in the cooking spirit, I just make cookies nonstop. There was a while, it's actually, I think, the biggest reason why I got into baking, because I found cookies to be really simple, and that was like my go-to thing. And now I can use the cookie recipe. I literally have the recipe memorized. I don't even have to measure anything anymore, because I know the amount of everything that should be in it. And I know, like, if I don't put a certain amount, what it will be tweaked to look like in the end product, because that is just how many times I made cookies. I make a mean chocolate chip cookie, guys. And I've kind of just made it my own. Was a big follow the recipe girly. I'm always a big proponent of following the recipe until you work on it enough. But again, I was making chocolate chip cookies forever, so I got that in the bag. But I've been really enjoying baking, and I've actually, don't tell my boyfriend this, been kind of enjoying cooking too a little bit more. I'm going to be making my own chicken salad in a second. I had chicken frozen and I defrosted it. It's been sitting out all day, and I thought it was defrosted, and then I took it out and it was still frozen. So I'm defrosting it right now in some hot water. I'll probably have to check on it and make sure it's defrosted so I can go throw it in the air fryer, because I don't know why, I just don't trust the chicken in any other place other than the air fryer. Like, I don't trust the oven, and I also don't trust the stovetop for chicken, because I just think I'm just not going to cook it through. But the air fryer, I trust. I will say, looking to cook chicken, because you're also terrified you're going to give yourself salmonella, 375 on the air fryer, 7 minutes, flip it over, cook another 7 minutes, and you should be all set. And that's worked for me no matter what size the chicken breasts were. So yeah, just a little cooking tip. Who thought I'd be giving cooking tips? No one did. I suck at cooking. Like, I burnt everything, guys. It's pretty bad, but I'm kind of getting into it. I got like my own apartment with my boyfriend, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of enjoying cooking. Ha 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 ha. In consensus, my final review on this product is I really like how pigmented all the markers are. All the markers are really pigmented, and if they can show up this well on black, they're going to show up even more better on white. Even though all the colors are pretty bright, I like how well they blend together in terms of like color story. As you can see, while they don't like blend directly, all the colors are relatively cohesive on this paper, and I think that's really cool considering how bright and punch you in the face a lot of these colors were. But even I used like more than half of the colors in the pack, and they all came out really well and worked really well together. I will say my one critique is how bright everything is. I think it's difficult, especially if you're not a bright colored person, to use these markers, as a lot of the colors are very pow, punch you in the face, which could be something that a lot of people don't like. But overall, I do really love the colors and how they work, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone who is looking for something of this nature. I want to thank everyone for watching this video, and I hope you have a wonderful, lovely day. I will be doing another review on Ohuhu's Copic markers, which I do have a few remarks about, but I will save that for this video. If you like ramble, long form content, even form book reviews, or just rambling and yapping, please give me a subscribe/follow, as that's all I gotta do. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and